Hello and welcome to another episode of the Young Tongues podcast. My name is Barbara Fountain and I'm the founder and CEO of the Young Tongues, a peer-to-peer support group for young tongue cancer patients from around the globe. In today's episode, I am so excited because I have my first guest on the podcast, fellow patient. I'm honoured to welcome Andrea Rodriguez from Texas with me here on the pod. Andrea, thank you so much for joining us. Let's start by introducing you to our listeners. Who is Andrea Rodriguez next to being a tongue cancer patient?
Well, hi, Barbara. It's so awesome to be here. Yes, I'm Andrea. I am from Dallas, Texas, the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I am a music teacher for elementary levels, which is I teach from about 4-year-old all the way up to 12-year-olds, just the general foundations of music. And it's like my favorite thing to do in the world. When I'm not a music teacher, I usually hang out with friends and family. I do aerials on the side. I'm a baby aerialist. So I do the hoop and other apparatuses, and it's really, really awesome. So, yeah, I love hanging out with friends and family, getting to travel now. It's like one of my favorite things. So that's me.
That's amazing. I love that. Fantastic. Right. So I guess let's dive straight into the reason why we're here.
Absolutely.
I guess when did you first notice that something wasn't right?
Well, I didn't notice it. I was actually, I think it was 18 years old, and at my dentist, and I've been going to him for years. And he had asked me, he was like, "Andrew, are you smoking?" And I was just like, "No, I am not." I was a French horn player at the time. I was just like, "I need my lungs. I need my musicianship. Why would I be smoking?" And he said, "You have this white spot on your tongue, and it's not coming off. When you go get your wisdom teeth taken out, we need to have them do a biopsy just to make sure everything's safe." So a couple months later, that's what we did, and that's when my oral surgeon, he said, "You have this thing called dysplasia, which is precancerous but not quite cancer yet." So I was like, "Okay, so what do we do now?" And they sent me to my next oral surgeon, the higher up, out here in Fort Worth, and he's the one that said, "Well, we're just going to laser it off. We're not usually common seeing this in an 18, 19-year-old person, but let's just laser it off and safe than sorry." So we did, but it kept coming back. I was just like, "My guy, what's the problem?" He goes, "It's like a wart. Once it's in you, it's in your system, and we can cut it off as much as we want, but we just got to stay progressive about it and just keep an eye on it, take all the pictures and just monitor it, because again, we're not used to seeing this in a 19-year-old person. This is more for people of an older generation who've been like, drinking, smoking, living their best life." I was like, "Okay." And we started questioning that. Was it linked to HPV? But I was negative for that. So it was literally just out of nowhere. It's kind of an anomaly of like where it came from, because we really have no idea how it started. But over the years, I tried doing an experimental mouthwash with Accutane, mixed with a low dose of chemo that would just swish in my mouth in the morning and afternoon. It wouldn't prevent it from coming and going. It was just kind of help to like flush it and prevent it to get bigger. But that only worked so far. And then back in 2016, I noticed it had started bleeding. And that's when I was like, "Dude, this isn't good, right?" And my surgeon's like, "No, ma'am, it's not. And we're going to have to actually cut off part of your tongue." And I think I probably sounded ridiculous had my father and my surgeon tell me after the biopsy that, "Hey, Andrea, you are positive. It's cancer positive. We're going to have to cut it off." And my little mindset was so worried, because that year I was in college, and it was pretty much the summer before my senior recital. And as a French horn player, you kind of need your tongue. So I was just like, "Okay, I hear you. I have cancer. However, can we push this back until after my recital?" And both of them, I think, were ready to put hands on me, because they were like, "Andrea, you're positive for cancer. You have to." Nevertheless, I ended up doing it that next month, and we just postponed the recital. And I did have it about 6 months later, so it was still possible, because I only had a partial gastrectomy, thank God. And at that
Mm.
time, there was no need for further treatment. I healed. I didn't get the trach or anything. They just had the neck dissection. I had a feeding tube up my nose, and I was only in the hospital for a few days, and all was well. And I continued to follow up with my doctors for a minute. And for a few years, I was doing really great. But then I noticed back in 2022, like I had another white patch again. So we checked it out, and it was benign. And we were like, okay. And then come a year later, it was getting extremely sore. And I was noting certain like juices and foods were like irritating it. If I had a glass of wine, like that was not okay. I was just like, I should not be able to like handle this like when I'm eating and stuff. Like I should be able to eat what I want without having any problems. So I went back to my nurse and went to my surgeon, and he sat me down. He was like, Andrea, I'm sorry, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not cancer. So
Mm.
that happened, and he's pretty much he took my forearm and he told me that this is what's going to happen. That's what I loved about him, because over this decade of being working together so closely over the years, he was very honest and upfront. He doesn't hold back. So he told
Mm.
me, I'm going to use your forearm because we're going to cut off a lot more of your tongue. We're going to use your forearm to replace the right half of your tongue.
Oh, okay. So
And
the first time round, they didn't reconstruct. They took a bit and left it, or did they
yes,
tether it
so
down, or
what they did is, like, if this is the first quarter of my tongue on my right side, they cut off that half and pulled whatever skin they had back and over the tongue. So it's
okay,
almost like my tongue was flipped, if that makes
Y-
sense.
that makes
So that's
sense.
what
Yeah.
happened there. So,
Okay, and
yeah, I didn't
so
have anything set up.
and then so I'm just trying to go around the timeline. So your
Mhm.
first diagnosis and surgery was in 2016, and you were 18, so like a
I
baby,
was
18,
18
19.
when we first noticed the spots. When we first
Okay.
saw that was 18, 19, because it was like December, and then the next year is when we did all the biopsies, and we would cut it off
Mm.
every so often. And then 2016 was the first time I was cancer positive, and it was only a stage 1 diagnosis.
Mm. Still, but you're like, I know you're an adult at that point, but you're still a baby, really. You're still.
Oh, no, I
So,
was terrified. I was very much a child about all of this. I was just like, what is happening to me? And like, I wasn't knowledgeable enough to like go outside of Google to like research anything. Like Facebook groups still weren't, I don't think, a thing at the time. So it was just
yeah,
me, myself,
absolutely.
and I and my nurses.
Yeah. What impact did that have as you as a teen growing up?
It was annoying, I think would be my first word for it. Is like I was very annoyed that it was interrupting me in my college life. Like I'm just out here try to do my thing, and then like every so often I wasn't able to play. I wasn't able to do what I needed to do for me to go live my life. It was just interruptions that eventually just blew over. But I didn't want it to impact my life, like, oh no, I have cancer. I didn't want it to be a negative thing. It was just like, we're gonna get it over with, and it's gonna be done. I'm gonna live healthy and move on. So that's always been my mindset
Okay.
with this situation.
Absolutely. So we're now fast forwarding to 2023 when it comes back. So by that point,
hmm
how old are you? My
I
maths
was
isn't good
29.
enough.
I was
29.
29. Yes, ma'am. 29.
Mm.
And, this was the biggest one. And I was quite terrifying, when they said they were taking off more. And I was just like, okay, well, we're going to do it. I think the trach was the scariest thing for me, because I was just like, I remember the first time they ever described that to me, I was like, I never want to have to go through that. But this time I really didn't have a choice. So, but we did it all in one go. They did the flap, the deconstruction and reconstruction, the graft, and I had a food tube put in as well, all in one day. So,
Okay, and it's directly into the stomach this time.
yep,
The tube, yeah.
absolutely. And now I get to show off I have two belly buttons now. So that's always fun.
Yeah, and I assume a big scar on your arm as well, like many of
Yes,
us
I
have.
do. And she's got a little tan right now because I was at the beach not too long ago. But oh boy, yep, that's her.
Yeah.
So Yay, buddies. So,
I, I must admit, I do quite like my scar nowadays. I sort of look at it and see it as a badge of honor. But I do also see the wandering eyes of people looking at the scar and trying to
yes,
figure out
I
what on
keep
earth.
a I keep a sleeve over it for work because I work with kids and they are so nosy. So, and we can't. It's only a year old, so we still got to keep careful of sunlight. Like the tan line is because I use KT tape if I want to go swimming and I don't want my whole arm to be super pale. So I use KT tape when I'm in the water so we can still get the rest of your arm her little time in the sun. But I really don't mind it personally. Part of me is like, we should decorate it. Let's go get tattoos and make it look pretty and stuff like that. So it's part of me now, and you gotta love it. You gotta love yourself.
Absolutely. And protecting it from the sun, really important. Can't
Yes.
stress that enough.
Yes,
um,
moisturize. You gotta moisturize.
Absolutely. And so you had, that was a hemiglossectomy now. So we're talking about half of the tongue gone,
Yes, ma'am.
reconstructed. So hugely invasive surgery. What came
Yes.
next?
Well, I was in the hospital for about 8 days. Had friends and family there every day. I was never alone, and that was wonderful. And I made sure to really do my research and prep, and that's when I found the Young Tongues page through Facebook, and I was able to make like this big Amazon list of just stuff to get ready for when I was in the hospital. I had my friends, my family, even my coworkers just answering all those little blessings just to help me stay comfortable. And I was really okay until I think a couple weeks after the surgery. I had to go see the radiologist just as protocol. And I had met him before from the first time. And, the first time he was like, yeah, get out of here. You'll be fine. It was just stage one. But this time, he was just so genuine and sweet. Like he was a wonderful human, and I had my aunt with me at the time, and he had pulled up my pathology report, and he was going by it line by line and like translating it to layman's terms, and it made sense. And right when he got to that part, and he highlighted ST3, I was looking at it and he goes, Andrea, you still tend to blow our minds today. Because we went in for a kitten thinking it was stage one, and we got a lion. And I remember just kind of going into shock, because I knew exactly what that number three meant. And he was so kind and gentle and just explaining, why they made the decision that they did, and that he was waiting for my surgeon to text him back because they're very, very close within that hour of my appointment, and he was going to make the official call if I was going to have radiation or not. And like 5 minutes after he said that, he said, we're doing it. And I just remember thinking, oh, no, 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 no. Like, hold up. We need to breathe. I just need to breathe. And it was like I was trying so hard not to just freak out in that room. And my wonderful aunt, the minute he said radiation, she was pressing record on her phone, taking pictures of everything just so I could just take it all in. And it was absolutely terrifying. I just remember being so
Mm.
scared, leaving that office. And my aunt's like, what do you need? I'm like, I need chocolate. I need a pillow, potentially a wine if that's possible right now. I know it's not, but like there was just so much going through my head. I remember I called my big brother, said, hey, dude, I'm about to freak out. I'm going to need you to call me. And we were able to work out a plan. But yeah, after that, they gave me time to come back, and I finished out my school year, and I started doing radiation that next week after school let out. And I did all 30 days. And
Oh God.
that was quite the journey.
Yeah. And did you find the young tongues before that?
It was right before that because
Okay.
yeah, it was right before all that happened. And just the community was just so kind. I had people like sending me PDFs, like here's what your radiation journey is going to look like. Here's the translation, like because they were telling me about a mask. I'm like, what's a mask? Why do I need a mask? And like I forgot her name. She was sending me like a whole document, and then I was going through just to like see what to expect, other people's journey, and like it was scary, but I'm one of those people who like I need to know what's coming, because
Mm.
everyone's going to go through the same journey to some extent. It's just those symptoms of what we experience is that's what's going to vary based on our bodies. So,
Yeah, uniqueness and that sort of kind. I am so glad and so relieved that you found us when you did, because I do
oh,
feel
yes.
surgery is really invasive, and I don't want to underplay how traumatic that is as a
Oh,
part
truly.
one. But I do feel, having not experienced it personally, that radiation and chemo and immunotherapy is like a whole other beast on top. So to have a community to guide you through that, I'm so glad that we
Absolutely,
were
because
able to
like the
provide
first
that.
time this all happened when I was younger, I had no one. Like I was just Google and whatever my nurse could tell me. So I joined just a whole bunch of Facebook groups, and then a particular individual, she said, "Hey, look at this group. It's for young people with tongue cancer." And I had just finally felt like I found my people. These are my communities. Like, I'm not alone. It's not just me. There are people in my area who have the same surge. And I'm like, okay, I'm fine. I'm going to be okay. Other people could do it. I can too. We got to just keep that good mindset and just trek on through. So,
Absolutely. So let's talk about the radiation experience, because that's actually not something we've spoken about much on the podcast.
hmm
Jamie and me are about to, or have just, or will about to cover it. I'm not quite sure
hmm
of which sequence these episodes go out, but
absolutely.
but also being conscious that each individual's experience is unique. What were
hmm
the 30 days like for you? If you can give a little bit of insight to our
Oh,
listeners.
yes. So, you know, getting prepared for it was everything, making sure I had all my books and lotions and mouthwashes. Like, communication was key between me and my nurses. They told me, you need to break it up for the 30 days into every 10 days. You know, the first 10 days, you may or may not experience any symptoms. You'll probably feel like yourself. And that's pretty much what went down. I had remember day 5, I went to go see some family in town. We were sitting poolside and just having a barbecue, and it was a really good time. And then the next 10 days, I remember my brother had flown in to come babysit me. And he kind of saw me go from my best, and then he saw the decline down to when those symptoms really started to impact, because that second round of 10 days is when I started losing my taste. The fatigue was definitely hitting me more. And the sores were starting to pop up, but not really, but they were there. It was just starting to come in. But by the time he saw me and the time he left, he said it was a full change, night and day difference with me. So, the last 10 days, for most people, they say that's where it starts getting really, really rough. But thankfully, in my journey, it didn't really impact me as hard as I think, because they tell you that's where you're going to get the burn on the outside. That's when the sunburn happens, and it's really going to hurt. And at the time I had super long hair, but due to some of the surgery, coming out of it, I had some nerve issues, and icing it was just my favorite thing, because with your face nerves, it attaches everywhere. So if something hurts down here, you're going to feel it all the way up your head. So I was always icing it. My hair was getting wet, and I was just over it. And so told my friend, I said, you know what, girl, take it off the side. And she did, because I didn't want the sunburn affecting it. I didn't want to worry about it getting wet. And so those last 10 days, I'm bracing for the worst, but it was actually pretty steady. I'm not gonna say I was at my best. Like, I was so tired, and the sores were definitely there. I was very much eating out the food tube those last few weeks. And, that week after those 10 days is pretty much the intensity of radiation treatment, because you're at your peak, and then it starts going down. So, I know it could have been much worse, because I've seen people online where, like, day 4, they're turning red and they're getting sick. For me, I think I was very blessed in my treatment, in my journey, just to kind of ride through it and just made myself comfortable as I could, and had lots of love and support with my friends and my family being there for me every day. So,
Mm. And it's such an important story to share, because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we hear the word radiation and we brace ourselves for the worst, and we look up the list of all the side effects, and we have to remember that not everyone is going to get every side effect to every severity. And there are cases out there like yours that, yes, hey, it's not a walk in the park, it's
It's
not
not.
fun, but you can get through it, and it doesn't have to be as awful as what we might imagine it to be. And I really hope that anyone who's waiting to have radiation is listening to this. I really hope that
Mm-hmm.
Andrea's experience and the way you've just shared it gives you hope that it can be the best possible outcome.
Absolutely, and communication is key. Like, it wasn't just myself. Like, my radio techs, they were so much fun because you go in every day and you don't feel it. You're just laying on the machine, letting it rotate around you. But they always said, "What music do you want today?" And for me, I'm always ready to party, and so we'd always have mini dance party before we get on the machine. They strap me in, and we go. And I really have to give it to my nurses, my radio technicians for really making it such a scary experience, really not so bad, and
Mm.
almost special in a way.
Oh, that's so touching, so incredible, and exactly what it should be like. Uh, and yeah, we do need to really pay homage to those that look after us in those clinical settings. So, if you were to meet someone who's just been told, right, you've got 30 days of radiation ahead of you, what are the top few like gifts that you would want to give away in terms of information or preparation or items or mindset? What are the top things that you think, oh, I'd wish I would have had that at the beginning of my journey?
I think for me, it's number one is do not be afraid to ask for help in any way, shape, or form, whether that be, having someone take you to radiation. Because I know after those first 10 days, I was in no business ready to drive myself. And so between friends and family, I always had someone driving me every day to radiation. Even if those first 10 days, I knew I could drive, they still drove me. So ask for help and have that support. Anybody, everybody, like, you can ask. Do your research. Go online. Join Young Tongues. Absolutely join Young Tongues and just research it. It's better to know what could be potentially there versus not. And for me, again, I need to know what could be coming versus what isn't there. So,
Mm.
um, yeah, and then look up a nice Amazon wish list and don't feel like you can't put it out there because you know what? It's going to be answered. Because for those who just say we're thinking of you and we're praying for you, let us know if we can help. This is their way of giving back. Absolutely their way of giving back because they can't be there for you physically. This is their way to help you in some way. So again, just you got to ask for help. And I'm happy to give a big shout out to not just physical and emotional help, you got to get that mental help too. As soon as they told me about radiation, I really tried to do it on my own. But I realized after 2 weeks of receiving that information, I was having trouble processing it. And I wasn't able to cry about any of my experience from being in the hospital to, hearing that information because it was just a lot. And I thought I was so big and bold and I could do it all. Like, I'm a strong, independent woman. Let's go. We can do this. But I hadn't cried. So my friend was kind enough to give me her, sorry, pardon me. Hey, you guys. Oh, sorry, my dogs.
That's all right.
But yeah, they're just having the best time of their life and they need to calm down. But after realizing I hadn't cried for 2 weeks, I realized that I needed help. And my friend was kind enough to give me the number of her therapist, who had also been a cancer survivor. And she met me at a level that I didn't know that I needed. And for her to just let me be vulnerable and not have that judgment and just really level with me on where I was coming from I don't know if I could have gotten through that without her help. And I still talk to her this day. It's not every week, but
Mm.
we check in once a month with each other, and I can give so much to my therapist for helping me through that journey.
So so important, so important, and so I don't want to say undervalued because I don't think it is, but I think when we're in the midst of the storm, we don't
Mm-hmm.
think about our mental health. We think about all the information that we're giving and trying to process what's going on and trying to organize our lives for what is ahead of us. And actually, I mean, it's huge for you
Mm-hmm.
at your age as well, like 29. That is not,
Nope, was
to
not how I
realize.
lived into my
No,
20s.
no, and but to realize that, hold on, I've not cried. This is not normal. I need help. And yeah, we all get modeled, online cancer survivors, strong woman, independent woman, absolutely fine, can battle
Mm-hmm.
this by myself. No, 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 no. That's wrong.
You,
Don't, please. No
you
need
gotta
to.
have perfection. You gotta own it. Like, I'm not okay.
Mm,
I'm not about to be okay. Like, you have to be able to just accept it, and it
mm.
was so worth
And
it when I finally did, because before I saw her, I was like borderline, like, do I have to do this? Like, I don't have to do this. This is my body. I can do what I want. I don't want to do treatment. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Even with my radiologist saying, Andrea, we're trying to save your life before it gets too bad. And I'm over here thinking long term, like, what if I can't taste food anymore? Like, what if I can't eat right? Like, I was so scared. I was so scared. But again, as soon as I started talking to her, it definitely helped.
fell
So
into place. That's amazing. I'm so glad you found that. Speaking of the long term, so it's now been a
just
number
over a
of
year,
months.
almost a year from treatment.
Just
So
Yeah, wow. Ooh, big dates.
hmm
Big anniversaries.
big anniversary.
So, yeah, so a year on, how's life now?
Gosh, I am definitely in a new headspace about everything I do. There's just more of an appreciation for being here and being able to do the things I do. I'm grateful for every piece of food that I get, and the fact that I'm able to eat my chips, I'm able to eat, big bites. Like, I don't take food for granted for sure. Especially my activeness, I'm not one who likes to sit down a lot, so I think that was probably one of the big struggle. But the minute I was able to start going back to work and back to my aerial studio and just being able to be me again was wonderful. And now I'm just ready to like go do more. I hear all my friends, they're like, oh, we're 30 and our knees are breaking. We have heartburn. And I'm like, I don't care about my knees. Let's just go. Let's go do something. Let's go out. Let's just go live. I don't want to be 30 and tired and getting old when I still have 40 more years to look forward to, hopefully. Like, I just want to go enjoy life. I just want to go do things and just share it with everyone. I'm very, very social with all my friends and my family. Like, I've been all over Texas the last few weeks. I was able to go back and retake some summer courses that I missed, and it's just so special now. Just the entire
Oh,
mindset of now you can do it and just live on and prosper. So
yeah. Yeah, totally get it. And you know what? Your energy and your love for life and your zest in life, it comes across. And you know what? I want to come and party with you in Texas because,
oh, girl, let's
oh my
go.
God.
Let's go. I would
Get me on that
absolutely love
plane.
to. Now, girl, I'm coming to
Absolutely.
you.
Oh God. Oh well, vice versa. We'll do both. There are so
I
many.
can do that.
Actually, there are so many young tongues in Texas. So I do
There
think I need to
are.
get on
I
a
didn't
plane and get
realize
myself
how
over there.
many there were. It was crazy. Like, I
Yeah.
started joining the page. I would see, like, oh, we're from Dallas. We're in Louisville. We're from here and here. I'm like, we need to just have a barbecue and just meet up. Like, we just need to hang out, and just enjoy each other because it's so unique. So, this whole diagnosis And knowing that there's people my age out there now, it's just like the community. It's very heartwarming and wholesome in a weird, I want to say like morbid way. Like the situation sucks, but the outcome is definitely worth it when you have a community to be with. Because I don't know how I would have gone through this without having the Young Tongues or anyone else who had not gone through this. Like I really don't know how I would have done it.
Yeah, I totally get it. And I've fallen in love with so many people that I've met along the way with the Young Tongues. And one of the reasons we seem to have like a big group of Texans, shall we say, is because the hospitals in Texas have been great at mentioning us. And
Yes,
if anyone's listening, hey, thanks so much, because it's really helped connect people and connect people locally. And we're really grateful for every shout out, but also, you know, thank you for allowing us to help you support the patients, because without that,
absolutely.
if we wouldn't find each other, we can help each other. So that is amazing. So, Andrea, on behalf of the community and from me, thank you so much for being my
Thank you,
first
Barbara.
patient story. I'm so glad we've had you. Thank you for bringing all your energy. And hey, I am so up for that barbecue. I am
Let's
coming.
do
Put me
it.
on the guest
Let's do
list.
it. We'll come. We'll get some Tex Mex out here for you, girl. We'll get you everything you need. So, thank you so much, Barbara, for everything you've done just to help raise awareness and have this page. Like, I can't speak for everyone, but please know there's so much love I have for you in my heart. And if you ever need a place to stay when you come out to DFW, please come and hit me up. I'd love to just hug you, my dude. Like, I just love to give you a big old hug.
Me too, me too. Thank you so much. And
Thank
at
you.
this point, I would also like to say thank you to our listeners, your support, and for engaging with this podcast. It means everything to us. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on Instagram at Young Tongues Global. You can also now find us on TikTok, now that I'm kind of getting the hang of it, and
Yes.
Twitter and Facebook and all the other pages. If you would like to recommend someone to come on the podcast, or have questions, or would like to come on like Andrea yourself to tell your story,
Let's do
please email
it.
us. Absolutely. Email us on podcast@youngtonguesglobal.com. Thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Have a fabulous day.